Good day, precious family, James and Valerie. We are proceeding to our session 18 and believe strongly that your lives has been changed through the seeds of truth, the whole truth, as we spread it into your heart awareness, your virgin womb, your feminine principle. The conception takes place in its own time, but I want all of you to meditate and also to listen to these audio sessions over and over and over until you get it. This is true word. It's the new word. It's the always word. We're always there, but it's been cemented through tradition, 3D, illusionary, and religiosity. But thank God we can resurrect this truth that sets you completely free. Now, session number 18. And the topic, when the church silenced what God kept speaking. Now, women, wisdom, and the mystery of the inner union. There are a few verses that have been used for centuries to silence women. Like, women should keep silent in the churches. We know that was a cultural thing. I do not permit a woman to teach. Cultural. Wives, submit to your husbands. Ever heard that? Those verses have been lifted out of context, culture, language, and spiritual dimension, and then turn into universal laws, principles, that Scripture itself contradicts over and over again. And here is the irony. The very Bible used to silence women is filled with women God empowered, sent, anointed, trusted, and raised as leaders. This is what happens when the outer court reads the text, the carnal mind. But the inner court, higher consciousness, Christ consciousness, understands the mystery. Now, topic in our session today, the women God openly chose and used. If God truly believed women should be silent, none of this world would exist. Deborah, judge of Israel, a prophet and a military leader. Let's look at Miriam, prophet and worship leader alongside Moses. Hilda, prophet consulted by kings. Esther, deliverer of a nation. Ruth, lineage of David and Jesus. Mary, mother of Jesus, carrier of the Logos into flesh. Anna, prophet declaring Messiah. The Samaritan woman, first evangelist in John's Gospel. Priscilla, teacher of Apollos. Phoebe, apostle and church leader. Junia, named among the apostles. And then there is Mary Magdalene. Now, Mary Magdalene, first apostle of the resurrection. Mary Magdalene was the first witness of the resurrected Christ, the first commissioned messenger of the resurrection. In an era when women were not considered legal witnesses, God entrusted the greatest announcement in human history to a woman. That was not accidental, that was prophetic. Now, the lost and hidden writings. There are early writings not included in the Western canon that preserve the interior mystical lens. The Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, and Pistis Sophia. These writings do not replace Scripture. They preserve the inner dimension institutional religion later became uncomfortable with. In them, Mary Magdalene carries inner revelation. The disciples struggle with fear and jealousy. Revelation is shown as gnosis, inner knowing, not religious rank. This doesn't diminish Christ. It reveals the path of Christ within the soul. Now, Sophia, the feminine expression of divine wisdom. Before Greek philosophy ever touched Scripture, wisdom was feminine. Wisdom cries out in the street. Wisdom was with God in the beginning. Wisdom delights in humanity. Sophia is not a goddess. Sophia is the intuitive, receptive, inner knowing dimension of God. When the church rejected the feminine dimension, it lost intuition, nurture, inner discernment, living wisdom, and replaced it with control, hierarchy, fear, law without illumination. A faith without wisdom becomes heavy, rigid, and external. Now, let's look at Paul, the wife, and the great misunderstanding. This is where one of the deepest distortions happened. When Paul speaks of the husband, the wife, headship, order, he's not creating a family hierarchy. He tells you plainly, Ephesians 5:32, this is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the ecclesia. Paul is not talking about male dominance, female submission, family control structures. He is describing conscious husband and the subconscious wife. Christ, the governing logos. The ecclesia, the inner awakened order. This is inner union language, not marriage hierarchy. The subconscious out of order means a fragmented soul, fear ruling intuition, the senses governing the spirit, the outer running the inner. Paul is teaching internal alignment, not domestic control. Religion turned inner consciousness teaching into external domination doctrine, and the mystery got buried under hierarchy. Now let's look at why women must be silent was written at all. Those verses were addressing specific disruptions, specific cultural settings, specific disorder in untrained gatherings. They were never meant to erase women from God's voice. Paul constantly worked with female apostles, female teachers, female leaders. Scripture does not contradict itself. Misinterpretation does. Now, what was really silenced? The war was never truly man versus woman. It was control versus union, law versus wisdom and grace, external authority versus internal knowing, fear versus illumination. Silencing women mirrored the silencing of intuition, inner discernment, the spirit-led voice within humanity. Now, outer court versus inner court. You can also say 3D versus 5D, or carnal versus spiritual. If Scripture is only read through literalism, control, tradition, power preservation, fear of mystery, this teaching will offend. You'll call it heresy or heresy. But if you follow Jesus into stillness, illumination, discernment, direct communion with the Spirit of truth, then this doesn't threaten your faith. It matures it. Now, what Jesus was always doing. Jesus never built hierarchy. Jesus revealed family. Jesus keeps drawing people out of the outer court, 3D mentality, consciousness, out of fear, out of accusation, and out of tradition, and into 5D Christ consciousness. Union, discernment, inner knowing, direct relationship with the Spirit of truth within. That's where offense dies. That's where control dissolves. That's where sons and daughters rise together. Now let's end this session with the Spirit's whisper. I never silenced my daughters. Only fear tried to do that. Wisdom still cries aloud within humanity, and those who have ears inside are finally learning to hear again. Sending all our love here from South Africa. James and Valerie, Shalom, Shalom. Namaste.